What's up, soldiers? Your boy Chris here, vibing up in the kitchen this morning. Couple weeks before Christmas, before the holiday season, and you're fretting. Watch, you ain't soak your fruits, you ain't prepare nothing for your rum cake, your black cake. And you know Christmas is not Christmas, or the holiday season is not the holiday season without some good fruit cake or black cake, as we call it down in the Caribbean. Rum cake, so many names, same thing. Maybe you have some Caribbean friends coming over and you want to impress them last minute something. So this year, let's be clear, it is not a cake, it is a bread pudding, but you're going to see me use a ton of ingredients we typically use in that black cake. You're going to love this one. So I mean to say the longest time here is to let that thing soak in the alcohol a little bit, and then watch now. Points, you're going to love this one. Let's go. So for bread pudding, you obviously need bread, and what I have here is 1 loaf of bread, and I think it's just a French bread, I think it was, that I removed the crust and I cut them up into small cubes, maybe about 3/4 of an inch or so. Put it on a sheet pan and allowed it to air dry overnight. The more you allow it to air dry, the more of the liquid and the flavors that we're going to be adding to this is going to be able to absorb or soak into that bread. So here we've got some dried pineapple, dried cherries, some dates, dried papaya or papaya as we say in the Caribbean, some raisins, pecans, and Mr. Cashew nuts. It's now time to soak everything in some alcohol. So in goes that papaya, pineapple, the dates, and if you guys notice, I cut them up into small pieces, almost the same size as the raisins and the cherries. So all of that is going in there. And now it's time to get it all drunk and disorderly. So I've got here my favorite, some Harvey's Bristol cream. Ooh, leave me poor boy. And I've got here, you can go on with dark rum if you want. My rum grew legs. However, I did find some cognac, some Hennessy. So I'm just gonna go in with some of that. And you want that to soak now for a couple hours at least, just for it to absorb some of that nice alcohol flavors that we added there. Just want to hit you a quick tip. You will notice most of the alcohol is on the bottom there. So every 15 minutes or so, 20-15 minutes, if you can just stir it, so which means the fruits, the dried fruits which were sitting on the bottom, will be able to come to the top, and the dried, which hasn't been hydrated yet from the top, will go to the bottom and make contact with that alcohol. Put some cling wrap over it as well, because first we got to make that sort of rich custard that's going to be the sort of base for this. So I've got here 5 eggs. I'm going to go in about 3/4 cups of granulated sugar. You can add more. I'm trying to cut back on the amount of sugar I used. And I got to make a quick correction. Earlier I think I said soak the fruits in the alcohol for about an hour. Technically, overnight is best. 3 hours. If you can't do overnight, do it for 3 hours. It's going to go nice and plump as you see here. We're going to get to these in a second. But all we're going to do now is take my whisk, and I'm just going to whisk that until it goes nice and smooth and we have that sort of custard base started. You can certainly use a hand mixer if you want, but hey, I'm getting some exercise here. Next up, I'm going to go in with a pinch of salt, pinch of cinnamon, and that's a generous pinch, a pinch of nutmeg, time for some vanilla. I just love the scent of vanilla, and this one is totally optional. This is something we use quite a bit down in the Caribbean, if I could just get it to open. And it is some of the mixed essence, and that is just a combination of vanilla, almond, cola, pear, and cherry. Just gonna give that another whisk just to bring everything together. And now I'm gonna go in with 2 cups of milk. You can use heavy cream if you want. Again, this is so rich as it is already. I'm just going to go with that 2% milk, but you can certainly go in with half and half or full cream if you want. I'm going to continue whisking this for a bit, and then we're going to add everything together. Now it's time to add that cubed up bread, and it's just one loaf of bread that I prepared. Just going to sink that down a little bit. Here's where we're going to go in with that, with the fruit. And that alcohol went like a sort of a syrup, and this is why, one of the reasons why I kind of held back on the sugar. It is because that dried fruit, it's going to be sweet. It's going to add that sweet element to it. All you want to do now, and I'm going to have to go in with my hands, so off camera I'm just going to go in with my hands. I'm going to mix that really well and allow it to soak so the bread absorbs all that liquid for about an hour or so. And all I'm doing is patting it down after I sort of gave it a good mix. I'm patting it down because I want all the top floating bread to really get in there and soak up as much of that rich custard that we created. In about half an hour's time, I'm going to come in and stir it again. But again, let it sit for about an hour, and then we're going to go into the oven. One of the things I like adding to this bread pudding is some chopped nuts, and I've got some pecans and some unsalted cashews. Unsalted. Just going to give that a rough chop. After, I'm going to mix it into the stuff that I've got soaking here as well. And the nuts part is totally optional. I just like adding that little bit of texture to it. I'm going to go back here with my hands again and mix that around. As my oven comes up to temperature 350, so 350 degrees Fahrenheit, all I'm doing here is I have my loaf pan, and you can use any sort of baking pan that you want. And I've already put a lot of butter on there, and I'm just dusting it with flour. Just so it is a non-stick pan. Technically it shouldn't stick, but I just want to ensure that it doesn't stick once we are all done baking it. So I'm just going to finish dusting this with flour and pour the mixture into here. I have it in a deep container here, oven proof container, and we're going to give it a hot water bath. So I'm going in with boiling water, just about halfway up, third the way up or so, into the oven, 350 degrees, bottom rack, for about 50 minutes. Due to the size of the thickness of my bread pudding here, it took 1 hour, so 1 hour 60 minutes in the oven. I'm just going to remove it from the bath here, and you want this to completely cool, if not chill it in the fridge, and then remove it from the pan. Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com, not your typical Caribbean black fruit cake, but I am telling you, this is the way to go if you don't have time. Bless up, man.